Yeah, for the initial crew.
453.
American just 33904.
Well, that was
Fire 587, let's expedite highway and into traffic control.
that was more.
Copy 587.
It was sometime before 446.
I keep getting emails from Timu on my screen. Timu, stupid app.
Had to be called out today.
Some like shopping app. Oh.
Do that right before you left.
Dad ordered something and I think he used my email.
That was my weekend to be on call, so I traded with their ground. I traded with someone this weekend too.
Yeah, we didn't get working.
423. I mean, right there. I mean,
Okay.
if you want to stand, yeah.
180 fire.
Go ahead.
We just did shift change. It looks like the original dispatch was at 1628, and do you need arrival time?
1628, and just units that were dispatched on that first initial, I believe it was twos. Okay.
Copy. Yeah, Navigation 2 was actually dispatched 1625, and then
Okay.
they started the wildlands at 1627.
Okay. Copy. Alrighty. Yeah, you bet. Okay, so keep that 100.
Fire 595 is clear and available.
So the initial kind of smoke investigation was at 1625 medic engine 2.
Yeah, so looks like 1623 is
Oh, yeah.
the actual, and then they're now seeing flames, I'm sure. So these are callers.
Oh, gotcha.
And then this is the fire.
What? I need that.
Per se category.
Perfect.
Fire 595.
Okay.
You have an update.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, where do you want me?
We'll have you look right here. Alrighty. Is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Good to go.
Yes, ma'am.
You ready, sir?
Yes.
Alright.
Start with your name and spell it for us, please.
Yeah, my name is Bob Silverthorne, Silverthorne, and I'm the Division Chief over Community Relations for Salt Lake City Fire Department.
Can you walk us through what just happened this afternoon and how this all kind of started that you know of, I guess?
Yeah. So it was funny. I was at home and I started getting some calls. I was a PIO on for the day, and we didn't have anything spun up in terms of multiple alarmed fires happening. We had one crew that was initially dispatched at about around 1625. When they got there on scene, they realized it was a brush fire up on Ensign, close to the peak there. And then they dispatched wildland resources, all three of our Type 3 and Type 6 auxiliary firefighting apparatus. Once it started progressing, we got additional assets en route with the Department of Natural Resources as well as Utah Northern Fire Protection. They started deploying some air assets as well as other different resources. We have mutual aid agreements in place, so our neighboring fire departments are able to assist us. I would say we have, over 6 different agencies helping out with this fire and over 100 firefighters on this fire. At this point, I don't have a containment percentage for you, and I don't have an acreage percentage for you, but at this point, probably the most notable information I can give you is we do have a mandatory evacuation of Sandhurst north of Dorchester, that community up there, and that includes the street of Twickenham. And at this point, we have a voluntary evacuation of East Capitol Boulevard north of Ensign Vista Drive. And if you're familiar with the area, East Capitol Boulevard continues up and turns into North Cove, so that would include that community up there being under voluntary evacuation.
Where would you say the fire is compared to where we're standing right now?
I would say right now it's a few miles out. It's interesting with the time of day and the type of weather and patterns we get in this area. We can't say definitively, okay, we've got wind coming out of the south. Well, that's great, but also with the topography, it's kind of tricky and how the pressure, the barometric pressure changes. It also has an effect on where fire goes. But with the heat, as well as the wind direction and just the temperatures out here and the fuel moisture, it's kind of a recipe that we could have a quickly running fire. So, of course, we want to make early notifications as much as we can. We need to prioritize those folks and structures that we need to do as triage on, get those people out as soon as possible if we deem that it's necessary. We've initiated emergency alerting with the help of our counterparts with emergency management, Salt Lake County Emergency Management. We have a unified command set up here at the Capitol. I also want to note that there is a building on the east side of the Capitol. The east building of the Capitol is sort of a safe haven right now if people have been evacuated and they want to get out of the heat, and to call and make other arrangements if in fact they need long-term evacuation.
Other than just a brush fire, is there anything that you've been made aware of what could have caused the fire initially?
It's hard to say. At this point, we haven't determined cause and origin.
And how many homes would you say are within that mandatory evacuation?
We have a count of 40 homes that are up in the Dorchester area that are under mandatory evacuation.
And voluntary evacuation?
Voluntary, I don't have a home count for you, but I think it's less than the 40. And so right now we're just getting messaging out to them. Police department has been awesome with door to door, knocking on doors, helping us with getting the messaging out, letting people know like, hey, you're under mandatory evacuation. Take care of your stuff and please exit the area.
And you mentioned police. We saw sheriff up here blocking right here on 500 North. This area is completely blocked off only for homeowners, correct?
Correct. And even that's kind of questionable right now. Homeowners, I would say at their discretion, go up. If they have things and reason they need to get up and gather their things and get out of there, for sure, since we're under voluntary evacuation right now. So it's sort of just monitoring the traffic coming through. Hey, if you don't need to be up here, then don't. That kind of thing.
Yeah, we just see a lot of looky-loos and people just kind of curious. Is their message right now just kind of
just please stay out of here, especially if we have, this is a large community up here. There's a lot of residences and a lot of the public that we serve. If we do have to order a large-scale mandatory evacuation, we're going to need all non-essential people out of the area.
Do you know, Ensign Peak and the Bonneville shoreline are really popular trails. There's other trails that are up there. Are you aware of any hikers or bikers that might have been up there at that time?
No, we don't know of any foot traffic or any people that are recreating up on the foothills or City Creek. We've also limited some of the people that are allowed up City Creek as well, and gotten that messaging out to them. But we just want to urge people, and we appreciate the media helping us extend that message to those people that are watching, just to let them know to stay out of the area. If you don't need to be up anywhere above the Capitol, then just try to stay out of the area.
Any indication that folks up in North Salt Lake on the other side of the mountain might be in any danger or need to kind of keep an eye on things?
We don't know right now. We've had some assets from South Davis Fire Protection District that are also helping us with this. Essentially, we almost have 3 divisions running right now. We have an East Capitol Division, and then right up here behind the Capitol, we have a Sandhurst Division, and also we have a Victory Road Division. So we have eyes on those 3 particular spots, as well as the assets that are on the other side of the hill in South Davis.
The messaging this summer, I feel like it's been wildfires. We're kind of prone to maybe start up a little bit more this summer compared to the year before and the year prior. I guess, is there anything that you'd want to say on what homeowners need to be aware of? Maybe not necessarily here in the foothills, but in other parts of the East Bench or just anywhere in the valley for that matter.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Of course, when the fire season, we kind of prioritize the most volatile structures, and I would say the volatile structures for us would be those that are in the foothill, what we call wildland urban interface. If you go on to slcfire.com/wildland, you will see the areas that we would consider urban interface, as well as the evacuation routes, and also you will see the firework restriction zones. Because we had such a wet winter, it leads to high fuel content, and with these, we call them light flashy fuels and 1 hour fuels, that moisture content can be down really fast, especially with this heat. So with the fuel load, you'll see some of those light flashy fuels, they can get up to chest high. And so we always caution people, have defensible space around your area. If you get on that website, you can actually get a defensible space survey where you fill out this little form, it goes to our emergency management, and we'll send a crew out there to do a survey of your home and give you some tips to try to help protect your home. Because in the event of a wildfire, we will have to do a structural triage. We'll have to say, okay, we can save, this is savable, and we'll make a stop here. This one, because it has brush that's going right up to the home, we may have to write that one off in order to save 2 or 3 up the road.
Do you remember this area ever having a fire like this before?
Not this particular area, but City Creek definitely. A few years back, and I was super proud of our firefighters, we made a stop that was incredible. It almost went right up to the fence line, and it did go up to the fence line, and we were able to make a stop. So we have a couple hand crews with our counterparts that are helping us with this fire, but also we have structure protection. So we have structural firefighters that are up there and positioning hose lines between homes in case there's a flank that kind of starts impinging on that property.
No buildings lost?
No buildings lost, no injuries that I know right now, but we're just trying to cycle crews through, keep them hydrated, keep them safe, and same thing with the public. If you have to evacuate, just take care of your pets, stay hydrated, and all that good stuff.
Obviously it's a hot day, but it's a clear day. There's no lightning or anything like that, but is it too early to say that it's man-made, that someone or something started it?
Yeah, it's way too preliminary to see. I mean, we're only 3 hours out from initial dispatch.
And then you mentioned the closures, that it might be sketchy even for homeowners to try and get up there.
Yep.
Can media go up there?
Definitely not. No, this will be our media staging area. The media will be here on the northeast corner of the grounds of the state capitol, which is just adjacent to East Capitol and 500 North.
Currently, Memory Grove is closed. Is there any other areas that are closed due to?
No, I think Memory Grove's closed, and I don't think anything up in the avenues right now. I would just caution people just to try to stay out of, the Bonneville Boulevard, I guess, that goes around all the way around East Capitol, and just kind of stay away from all of that area in case we have to evac people this way because this is shut off, if that makes sense.
Do you know exactly what is burning up there? Is it a lot of just tall grasses, or is it trees and stuff as well?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We have a whole gamut. I don't know if you want to pan up right there. So when it starts getting darker, we can tell that it gets more into fuels that have more of an oil content. Some of that sagebrush, chaparral, some of those larger trees, some brush or vegetation that has a higher and maybe a denser load, as opposed to sometimes when it gets in the white, we either have water getting on it or it's just a little bit of a faster running fire with those light flashy fuels.
Where are they pulling water from?
My understanding is that we have a couple auxiliary water, we call them pumpkins. They're essentially a big basin where they can bring their big drops in and they can fill up their water buckets and head and put drops on. So we have, I believe, 2 on Victory, and I'm not sure if we have one on Dorchester. But also there's a reservoir up City Creek that I believe they're pulling water out of as well.
7:15, 7:20, you're gonna start losing some light here next couple of hours. What's the plan going into this evening?
Well, we just basically clock out and go home. No. we determine how we need to rotate crews through, and as we go through the evening, we just essentially think of all the different contingencies that could happen. Luckily, when the sun starts going down and the pressures start changing, usually gives us a little bit of a break, so now we can start getting ahead of the fire and start hitting hot spots. What we don't want to do is we hope that doesn't happen, we get the wind that kicks up, because if the wind kicks up really bad, some of these embers can travel for upwards to a mile. So if we can get, just kind of keep the wind down, keep water on the fire, get those hand crews to make those fire breaks, then hopefully we can make a stop and just kind of do mop up.
I don't know if you said this earlier, I was not quite listening. Is there a direct attack on this, or are you guys just doing that all from the air right now?
We are doing mostly from the air right now, and then we're doing structural triage. And we may be putting some wet lines in, so firefighters are hooked up, and they may be putting some ground moisture down just to kind of protect it, or maybe even some foam blanketing around certain properties, just in case if the fire gets up, it can kind of slow it down.
So saving assets, fighting it from the air.
Yep.
But no direct attack this again.
Not any structure protection. Well, any structure direct attack right now. Yep.
We obviously don't want to freak people out.
Yeah.
But I guess your message to residents up there right now that are under voluntary evacuations,
Yeah.
I guess just to be extra cautious.
Yeah, be extra cautious. I usually tell people to start gathering the important stuff now, because when you have to pull the trigger and actually take off, then you don't want to be scrambling at the moment to get the things that are most important to you, right? Most important is obviously life safety, taking care of your family, taking care of your pets, all that kind of good stuff. Important documents, things like that. Stuff that you can kind of take with you that would just fill up your car. A few days worth of clothes, maybe some food, all the important documents, credit cards, computers, all that kind of good stuff. You want to make sure you kind of maybe stockpile it. And, fires like this kind of remind us like, oh, we need to be ready. We need to have that planning in place. So if and when you evacuate, you have what you need. And then all the other stuff is just stuff. Like, we can replace that. But what's most important is human lives and, just trying to keep people safe.
Is anyone resisting the order to evacuate?
No, talking to our police counterparts, it just doesn't sound like people are resisting. I know a lot of times these things can be emotionally charged, which I totally understand. But we just try to communicate to them as best as possible, hey, this is a situation, this is the risk of not following these. And right now we haven't seen a whole lot of resistance because people understand, and we've done a decent amount of campaigning and pub ed when we get out there and talk to our folks and our customers to let them know, like, hey, we're here for you. And so we get the message, even if it's not fire season, all around the clock.
Do you know who made that initial call, seeing those flames kind of start up here in Ensign Peak?
I don't know. I think a bystander started calling. That's typically where calls come into 911. And then when our first engine company saw that it was indeed a wildland fire, then they called up Wildland Resources and then initiated further alarms. So they made wildland fire notifications, and with that comes a whole barrage of different resources that come. So including air assets, hand crews, all that kind of stuff started getting deployed. So.
Final question.
Does fire have a name?
What was it? Dorchester?
Sandhurst Fire.
Sandhurst Fire. Thank you. Sandhurst Fire.
How do fires get their names? Origin?
Yeah, usually it's related to a street, typically, or if it's a particular part of town. But usually it's associated with a street. Same thing with our house fires, right? We'll name it usually based on the street that the house resides on.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for helping me wrap that up. Last question.
Yes, so love working with professionals.
Scrabble. Come on. Run now. Run.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.